Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start with a topic that is heterotrophic mode of nutrition, which is one of the topic from your chapter number 5th, that is life processes. Okay, so we have already discussed about autotrophic mode of nutrition. Now we are on the topic heterotrophic mode of nutrition, right? So as the word suggests, heterotrophic mode of nutrition, as in what? It is a mode of nutrition in which organisms are dependent on other organisms for their food, for their energy, for their survival, right? So such a mode of nutrition is known as what? Heterotrophic mode of nutrition, right? Okay, so we have some points regarding this heterotrophic mode of nutrition. First is the definition. Okay, so in which heterotrophic mode of nutrition is a nutrition in which organism depends on another living organisms for their food. We have different subtypes in this particular heterotrophic mode of nutrition, that is saprophytic, then parasitic, then holozoic, right, mode of nutrition. So we are going to discuss each of these subtypes of heterotrophic mode of nutrition in detail, right? So next point is regarding what? Organisms take and use the food by various ways. So what are the other ways, such as in case of some examples like fungi, right? So this fungi are the organisms, for examples you can say some bread molds, yeast, mushrooms, right, which break down the food materials, complex food materials into simpler forms, right, but outside their body. Fine. Then secondly we have what? Some animals which break down the complex food materials into simpler forms, right, inside their body. So for examples what? We human beings, obviously we are also such kind of heterotrophic organisms who by our digestive system, or you can say some internal organs which are involved in digestive system, are responsible for the breakdown of complex food materials into simpler forms, right? Human beings is an example. Then amoeba, which is lower category of organisms, they are also involved in this holozoic mode of nutrition, which internalize the food materials and break down the complex food materials inside their body, right? So they follow which mode of nutrition? That is what? Holozoic mode of nutrition, right? Which mode of nutrition? Holozoic mode of nutrition. Right? One of the example is amoeba and second example human beings. Now we will discuss about this holozoic mode of nutrition in detail by taking example of amoeba also as well as human beings also, right? So next, before going to that particular point, one more point is there regarding what? Parasitic mode of nutrition, parasitism, right? So in this what happens? The organisms take the food from other organisms, means they are also dependent on other organisms only, right? But they take the nutrition from other organisms, yeah, or you can say their host, without actually killing it, right? Means it depends on the living host for their nutrition. So such examples include what? Cuscuta, right? It is also a type of plant, okay, right, which is dependent on other plants for its nutrition. Why so? Because its leaves lacks the process of what you can say photosynthesis. It lacks the chlorophyll, so it cannot prepare its own food. So that is why it depends on other plants for its nutrition, right? Similarly, we have ticks, which is a type of, you can say, arachnids or some insects, right, which are also dependent on their host for their food. Third example, we have lice, right, present on the scalp of humans. It takes the blood, sucks the blood from the human host. So it is also a type of what? Parasite, but it does not kill that particular host organism, right? Next example is leech, which is a type of ectoparasite, right? Leech is a type of ectoparasite. This word means that these are the type of parasites which depends on other organisms. They suck the blood from the human beings, right, without actually killing them, obviously. Next example is tapeworms. Tapeworms is an example of endoparasite. Endoparasite. Endo means inside, right? Parasite means those which are depend on other organism without killing it, right? So endoparasite, so basically this tapeworms are the intestinal worms. Okay, you can say it as intestinal worms, which lives in the intestines of the humans and take the nutrition from the human intestine without killing it, right? So these are some of various examples we can see which uses this heterotrophic mode of nutrition, parasitic as well as holozoic mode of nutrition. Clear? Now we will proceed with the another topic, this topic only, but in detail by taking the example of amoeba also, paramecium also, as well as human beings also, right? Next example we will take about amoeba. Fine. So amoeba is a type of unicellular organism, right? So amoeba, before proceeding with the process of nutrition in amoeba, we will see some points like unicellular organisms take their food by using their entire body surface, right? Secondly, as the complexity of this particular organism increases, means from unicellular to multicellular. So obviously cells, tissues, organ system will get developed and they will use that particular organ systems for the nutrition, yes, right, for their energy and all. So first we will take the example of what? Amoeba. So amoeba is a type of protozoa, right, or you can say protist in that protozoa. So this amoeba captures their food item, food particle by using their structure known as pseudopodia, yes, right, which is known as what? Pseudopodia, which uses this amoeba uses the pseudopodia to engulf the food material, right? What it does is it engulfs the food material. Pseudopodia helps to engulf the food material. Also another function of pseudopodia is it uses the pseudopodia for the locomotion, to move from one place to another, right? So here we are studying it with respect to nutrition. So the pseudopodia is used for engulfing the food material, right? So first step in this nutrition in amoeba is what? Ingestion. Ingestion means, yes, to take the food, right, food material inside their body with the help of pseudopodia, right? Second, we have what? Digestion. Very good. Digestion. So in this digestion process, what will happen? The complex food material gets broken down into simpler forms, yes. Then thirdly, so that absorption, correct, absorption, yes, the food materials which are broken down into simpler forms are absorbed in various parts of the body, right? Fourth, we have assimilation, correct, assimilation, right? So the food material, the energy, right, which is formed inside the body, it will use that energy for various cellular activities, right? So that is the process of assimilation, utilization of energy for various activities, right? Fifth, we have what? Egestion, correct. Egestion means to remove the waste material, right? Now we have ingested this food item, means amoeba has ingested the food items, then broken down into simpler forms, that is digested, then absorbed by its body, then utilize the energy, assimilated, right? And finally the waste materials which are formed inside the body get excreted out, or you can say egested outside the body of this amoeba, organism. Fine. So these are the basic steps which are involved during the process of nutrition in amoeba, right? Secondly, we have the example of paramecium. Paramecium is also a type of protozoa only, another example, right? Which again uses the same mode of nutrition, same process, ingestion, digestion, then absorption, assimilation and egestion, right? But instead of pseudopodia, this paramecium here you can see in this particular figure or diagram, it uses what? Cilia, which is the hair-like projections present on the outer surface of this particular organism, that is paramecium, right? So these are two examples in which we can observe what? Which mode of nutrition? Holozoic mode of nutrition, which is a subtype of heterotrophic mode of nutrition only, right? Okay. Next example is of human beings only, which again uses which mode of nutrition? Holozoic mode of nutrition, which is a type of heterotrophic nutrition only. Fine. So now we will proceed with the process of nutrition in human beings. That is, we will study about the digestive system in human beings, right? Or also you can call it as human alimentary canal, human digestive system, or nutrition in human beings, right? All are same only, answer is same, that is you need to explain about digestive system, right? So one by one we will see different organs, different parts of this digestive system. First is what? Mouth, main organs. If we talk about main organs, then first is mouth, where process of digestion begins, right? Secondly, we have what? Esophagus. Fine, the food which we take, yes, from our mouth is then swallowed and move forward in the esophagus, or you can say food pipe, yes. Then next organ we have what? Stomach. The food which is present in the esophagus is then pushed forward, right, by a process known as peristalsis, or you can say peristaltic movement, right? So this food will further pass towards this stomach, right, which is the third important organ in the human digestive system. Then fourthly we have small intestine. The food which is present in the stomach, right, it will further go towards the small intestine, further digestion will take place, right, and finally it will reach to the large intestine, where the unabsorbed materials, right, needs to be excreted out, but the water present in the small intestine needs to be reabsorbed, right? So the undigested material finally removed or excreted outside the body of human beings by through the anus, right? Now one by one we will see all these particular organs in detail. Before proceeding it with this particular organs, we will study about other organs also which are involved in digestion process only, but they are called as what? Accessory organs or accessory parts of the human digestive system, right? So which are those parts that we will see? Salivary glands. There are different glands which are acting as what? Accessory glands, which aids or helps in the process of digestion, right? Secondly, we have what? Liver and gallbladder also, right? Which again helps for the process of digestion with respect to bile juice, that we will see further, right? Next is what? Pancreas, yes, which is acting as both exocrine as well as endocrine gland, or you can say mesocrine gland, which also helps in the process of digestion, right? Clear? What are the different parts or organs of human digestive system? Main parts, main organs, mouth, then esophagus, also called as food pipe. Thirdly, stomach. Fourth, small intestine, then large intestine, and then anus, right? Accessory glands which are present, which helps in the digestion, are salivary glands, gallbladder, liver, pancreas. Very good. Okay. Next. So first, starting with the mouth. Okay. Starting with the mouth, where breakdown of the complex food materials takes place into the simpler forms, right, with the help of various enzymes. So in mouth we have which gland? Salivary glands, which secretes one particular enzyme known as salivary amylase. Salivary amylase. What is the role of salivary amylase? It breaks down the complex carbohydrate, that is starch, into simple sugar, that is glucose, right? So this step take place inside our mouth. Fine. Then next, inside our mouth only we have different parts again, that is tongue, salivary glands we have discussed already, right, which secretes saliva, in which enzyme is present? Salivary amylase. Then teeth is used for cutting the food or crushing the food, right, into smaller pieces. Tongue for mixing the food. Saliva again for mixing the food. With the help of salivary amylase, it will convert starch, or you can say complex carbohydrate, into simpler forms, right, simple sugar, that is glucose. Fine. Next we have one experiment, right, to show starch is present in the solution or not, right? So first we have taken two test tube 1, test tube A and test tube B, right? So here we are adding what? Starch solution in both the test tube A also and test tube B also. Before discussing this procedure, you need to know a particular reaction, starch plus iodine. It will give you which color? Blue color complex, right? This is a basic reaction which is shown by starch with the iodine solution. So here in this test tube also, in first test tube we have added starch solution, plus iodine is also added, plus saliva is also added, right? But in second test tube, starch is added plus iodine is added, but without saliva, right? Saliva is not added. So what will happen? In this test tube B, which color you will observe? Starch plus iodine, it is going to give you blue color. So here you can observe blue coloration, right? Which will indicate the presence of what? Starch. Presence of starch. But in test tube A, here you can observe we have added what? Saliva also, which is containing which enzyme? Salivary amylase enzyme. So this salivary enzyme, what it will do? It will break down the starch, right? Break down the starch into simple sugar. So starch has been converted into simple sugar, glucose. So glucose is not going to give you any reaction with iodine. So it is not going to give you which color? It will not going to give you blue color. So here you can see no blue coloration. Okay. So it will indicate absence of starch, or you can say digestion of starch has been taken place in test tube A, but not in test tube B. Clear? Okay. Next. Now, second part, we have which part? Esophagus. After mouth, we have esophagus, right? So, what is the role of esophagus during the digestion process? It will help to push the food in the forward direction, right? That is towards the stomach by the which movement? Peristaltic movement. Now, what do you mean by peristaltic movement? Here you can observe rhythmic contraction, expansion, or you can say relaxation of the food, right? So that it will slowly enter towards the what? Stomach region, right? So this is the role of which part of digestive system? Esophagus. Fine. Next we have which part? Stomach. Third part, main organ. Stomach is large organ which expands, and you can say where the food enters from the esophagus. Now this stomach, it contains a gland called as gastric gland which secretes which juices? Gastric juices, right? Which involves three components that are HCl, that is hydrochloric acid, secondly pepsin, thirdly mucus, right? Now we will discuss about all these three components of gastric juices in detail. Fine? Okay. Now we will discuss the role of HCl in the stomach. So as the name suggests, hydrochloric acid or HCl, it is going to maintain the acidic environment inside our stomach, obviously, right? Second function of this HCl is to lower the pH. Since acidic medium is maintained, so obviously pH of the acidic will be low only, below 7. So around 2 to 3 or 2.5 you can say, right, which is maintained by HCl present in the stomach. Then third role, very important role of hydrochloric acid is it will destroy or kill the germs, right, which may get entered with your food, right, from your mouth, then through your esophagus, it will come in towards your stomach. So this HCl will kill the germs, or you can say bacteria present inside the stomach. Fine. So this is the most important role of hydrochloric acid. Secondly, we have which enzyme? Pepsin, right? Pepsin basically involved in P for pepsin, P for protein. So this pepsin is involved in the digestion of protein, right? Involved in the digestion of protein. So this protein is converted into amino acids by the enzyme pepsin, right? Most of the enzyme ends with ASE in the suffix except the digestive enzymes. They are pepsin and trypsin. About trypsin we will study later on. Fine. First we are seeing what? Pepsin. Role of pepsin is the involved in the digestion of proteins. So protein is also again complex molecule which is going to get digested or converted into simple forms, that is nothing but amino acids, or you can also say peptones, peptides, right, which are the smallest units of proteins. Clear? Fine. Third is what? Mucus. So role of mucus inside our stomach is to protect the inner lining of the walls of the stomach from the action of hydrochloric acid, right? Hydrochloric acid is going to produce more amount of acid. If it is going to produce more amount of acid, it can inflame your walls of the stomach. So to prevent such inflammation, we have what? Mucus, which is secreted by this digestive juices by the gastric glands, right, by the stomach. Fine. Role of pepsin, mucus, as well as what? Hydrochloric acid is clear. Fine. Next we have which part? Small intestine, right? Now one muscle called as what? Sphincter muscle. It regulates the exit of food from our stomach into the small intestine. Now small intestine is what? The site which is involved for complete digestion of food, that is complete digestion of carbohydrate, proteins, as well as fats or lipids, right? Partial digestion, or you can say digestion, has been begun in which part? Mouth. But complete digestion of that particular, or you can say carbohydrates, proteins, fats or lipids will take place inside the small intestine with the help of various digestive juices from stomach, pancreas, liver, right? Okay. Next, some extra information regarding this small intestine is that small intestine of the herbivores, or you can say plant eaters, or you can say primary consumers who eat the plant based products. So the size of the small intestine in such herbivores is larger or longer as compared to the size of the small intestine of the human beings, because they need to digest the cellulose, right? And as opposite to that, digestion of meat is easier as compared to the digestion of cellulose. So that is why human beings, or you can say carnivores, human beings are omnivorous, both plant as well as animal eaters, right? So carnivorous as well as omnivores, they have shorter small intestine as compared to the herbivores, because they don't need to digest the cellulose, right? Cellulose is a component of the cell wall present in the plant cell, right, which is digested by these herbivores. So that is why they require longer small intestine. Okay, fine. So next, as we have discussed about small intestine, which is the major, or you can say which is the site involved for the complete digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, fats and lipids. So here you can say carbohydrates, proteins, fats, or you can say what? Lipids. These three are what? Complex compounds, right, which needs to be converted into simpler forms, that is carbohydrates into carbohydrate, for example starch converted into simple sugar, simple component, simple sugar called as glucose, that is glucose. Proteins converted into amino acids, peptides, peptones. Fats or lipids converted into fatty acids and glycerol. Fine, fats or lipids are converted into fatty acids and glycerol. So this simple sugar, glucose, amino acids, peptones, peptides, fatty acid, glycerol, these are the simple forms of this complex molecules, right? Complex molecules. Then now we will discuss the role of what? Liver as well as pancreas, right? Which are the accessory organs involved in during the digestion process, right? So this liver is the largest organ if we talk about inside the body, internally. If we talk about externally, then skin is the largest organ, right? So liver, it secretes one digestive juice again, that is known as what? Bile juice, right? Role of bile juice is to make the medium alkaline also, plus they are also involved during the digestion of fats. Okay, they will convert the larger fat globules or molecules, you can say, into smaller fat globules. Fine. Next, it also involved in the emulsification of fat. Nothing but the process which is known as what? Emulsification. Emulsification, in which larger fat globules, here you can see larger fat globules are converted into smaller globules, right? Fine. Next, this we have already discussed, the food which is acidic inside our stomach, further when it moves towards the small intestine, it needs to be in alkaline form. So this alkaline environment is provided by bile juice, which are secreted by or which are produced by liver. Okay, fine. Next, we have what? Pancreas. So this pancreas plays important role as both endocrine as well as exocrine. We are going to discuss about the exocrine function of this pancreas as we are discussing digestion process, right? When we will discuss about hormones, insulin, at that time we will discuss the role of pancreas as endocrine gland, right? So as exocrine gland, this pancreas secretes some enzymes, that is pancreatic juices, right? 3 of the enzymes are secreted by this particular pancreas. They are pancreatic amylase, trypsin and lipase. Okay, and lipase. Pancreatic amylase, trypsin and lipase. Now this, as the name suggests, amylase in the sense what? It is involved in the digestion of carbohydrates, again starch into simple sugar. So partially the starch has been digested in our mouth, right? Then complete digestion is going to occur in small intestine with the help of this pancreatic juice also. So here this pancreatic amylase will also involve in the digestion of starch into simple sugar. Secondly, we have trypsin, which is involved in the digestion of protein, right? Pepsin in case of stomach is also involved in the digestion of protein, and trypsin in case of pancreas is also involved in the digestion of protein, but both works under different environment. Pepsin works under acidic environment, whereas trypsin works under alkaline environment or basic environment, which is provided by bile juice secreted by liver, right? Alkaline environment. It will work under an alkaline environment provided by bile juice, right? Thirdly, we have lipase. So L for lipase, L for lipids. It will break down the lipids into, or lipids or fats into same fatty acids and glycerol, right? So this lipids or fats which are complex molecule is broken down into fatty acids and glycerol with the help of lipase enzyme, right, which is produced by pancreas. Okay, Next, so this all things we have already discussed. Okay, fine. Moving forward with the large intestine. So before proceeding with the large intestine, one more point is there about the villi, right? Which is the finger-like projections present on the walls of the small intestine, which helps in the absorption of food as well as involved in the increasing of the surface area, correct, right? Increase in the surface area as well as absorption of the nutrients from the intestinal walls. Fine, okay. Now proceeding with the large intestine. So the unabsorbed food now comes inside our large intestine, where the walls of the large intestine absorbs the water and the waste materials are thrown outside the body through the anus. So anus is the last part of this what? Digestive system. Before anus we have another part also, rectum, where for some period of time the excreted or you can say undigested waste material in the form of feces is stored inside that rectum, and finally it is going to get outside or remove the get removed from the body via the anus through the anal sphincter muscle, right? Anal sphincter, right? So with this we have completed the human digestive system. Thank you very much.